Okay, so this brings me to our guest speakers. So we've done all of the housekeeping stuff. So our guest speakers today, talking beyond the classroom, are going to be focusing on how do we make our youth partners in their own education. I think up until now, we've had a very hierarchical and linear view of education, you know, that the educator is the expert in the room, the kids are there simply to receive information, and it's very hierarchical and it's very limiting. And we understand that the world of information no longer works like this. Kids are able to access information via the internet, via Google. People have immediate sources to information and facts, and that the learning processes need to change. We're all very aware, though, that you all have day jobs and you're obliged to teach a curriculum and teach lessons in certain orders, and you have to comply in terms of actually teaching the lessons. And so there's no choices, we have to do that. But in doing that, we have to reconsider the way we approach teaching our curriculum to deliver different outcomes. And they may not be outcomes that one marks or evaluates, but it's absolutely clear that these are the outcomes that are critical if our learners are going to progress in the 21st century. And I think today, these are thrown around every moment, the 21st century skill set of can our learners think critically? Can they solve problems? Have they mastered their own skills in their own universe? Are they resilient and able to overcome challenges? Are they effective communicators? And can they grasp and show leadership in the moment? So what our two speakers are going to focus on is they both directly involved in the Columba Leadership Program, is this concept of promoting partnership between educator and learner, not a master and a served relationship, but a partnership relationship in their learning and teaching journey.
Clifford, you're cutting a bit. We're struggling to hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? I'll carry on. Are we able to establish a supportive environment? It's maybe more critical now than ever before, given the challenges of the coronavirus and social distancing and the impact that it's having on our physical environment. The key learning in terms of building partnership is building partnership around shared values. So we need to be on the same page around what we value and what we hold important. And we need to consider how we unlock their leadership potential to turn them into agents of social change. So Columba does this based on values, and the main values of the Columba program are awareness, focus, creativity, integrity, perseverance, and service. And they build their program around values. Now, they have a track record that's 10 years long. They supported over 200 high schools and worked with 9,500 graduates. And they will talk more about their own program and their own learnings. So I want to introduce you, I'm very pleased to introduce you to Monique, who is the Gauteng Provincial Manager of Columba Leadership, and Lehlohonolo. Sorry, I apologize for garbling your name. Who is a values champion in Lehlohonolo Secondary School. So the two of them are going to be your guests from now. They're going to talk you through their learnings and their approaches to the Columba program, and maybe share some insights and lessons that they've learned, and possibly what you could be considering in terms of applying in your schools in the very difficult environment that we have. I'm pleased to say we also have two graduates of the Columba program who we introduced via the PSSP program. We've put some learners through this program in partnership with Columba and Standard Bank. And we have Lorata and Chantal on the call. And I think after Monique has spoken, you guys can maybe add a little bit if you feel you would like to add. So Monique, welcome. Can I hand over to you, and I'm going to sit back and listen.
Sure. Thank you so much, Clifford. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. It's quite an amazing opportunity to still be able to connect with educators during this time. So I'm just sharing my screen. Let me just say a bit of background about myself. So I've been with Columba Leadership for the past 5 years, and I'm quite passionate about youth development. And I believe what is called to Columba speaks to what is at the corner of my heart. And I love working with young people. I love seeing them develop. And I think a very important thing for me is seeing the potential that young people have. And Columba has a statement that we always say, we believe that greatness exists in everybody. So as we speak today, Clifford and the rest of the team, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you on behalf of Columba. Thank you to all of the schools, the headmasters, and every educator that's present. It was quite interesting hearing about Sam and Sonolo, what you guys are doing. I would like to get on board with you as well. One of our things that we say is we need to create platforms for young people to play. And I think you speak into that. So as we go into what we are doing, I think let's start with a little bit of an icebreaker. Can you all see my screen? So Sam,
Yes.
I like the fact that already I see you laughing. And I just want to engage with you guys. So I'm a facilitator, and unfortunately, we love speaking to people. So I want just a few of us to say what comes to mind when you actually see this picture relating to the time period that we are in now. Anybody can just unmute themselves and share with us what immediately pops in your mind when you see this photo. I love how some people were laughing immediately when they said something. I see a hand there. Yes, go ahead, Sam.
Shoe just simply does not fit anymore.
It just simply does not fit anymore. Yes, Lerato?
Yeah, I was just saying like a lot of discomfort, and that's what I think a lot of us are finding ourselves in.
Discomfort, exactly.
Yeah.
Anybody else would like to go?
Myself,
Yes.
that really just looks like how it looks when we wear our masks and our nose is sticking out.
I like that.
That's
And
how
your
I feel.
nose is sticking out.
Yep.
Yes. Anybody else? Can somebody tell me what emotion or feeling would they attach to this? Yes, Lerato.
Pain. A lot of pain. Yeah.
Pain. You mentioned discomfort. You mentioned pain.
Yeah.
Somebody said it just doesn't fit right now. And I think in the education space right now, we are feeling those things. We are feeling discomfort. We are feeling pain. We are feeling frustration because things are just not going the way we would like it to go, right? Schools are rapidly closing and reopening because of COVID cases. And the old way just doesn't fit into what the new is where the new is going. Some people call it the new normal, some call it the new abnormal, but the old just doesn't fit. Some people still want to force themselves in that size 5 when you are long past that and you're supposed to be wearing a size 8. And so I speak today on a point of, are we identifying the potential of young people that should be used in the school space? And is the school a conducive space for young people to grow and get the 21st century skills that they need to? So I know that in the spaces that we are, unfortunately, sometimes we feel like the system is currently failing us. Young people are not being developed and getting the 21st century skills that's necessary for them to actually advance to where they are. We're feeling like that now, and I'm thinking all of us, just like the one speaker said, your nose is out and you are feeling like you look hilarious because you still need to continue amid all of this discomfort. So I'm going to continue and just go into some of the things that we've learned from COVID-19. In the school space, unfortunately, we have to continue teaching and learning, even though the environment is not welcoming. We've learned to adapt to change. Some of us know this thing is perseverance is what is at the core of what we're doing right now. Teamwork has not been as important in the school space as it is now. We're also learning to use the resources wisely. Unfortunately, there's so many budget cuts and everything. So we need to learn how to do these things. So we've adapted, and the new way at school is screening and registration has now become part of what we do. And I'm speaking to the educators specifically. Social distancing, which was not there before, is now something that we as educators need to ensure that learners are doing. Sanitizing around every corner. Some people are saying my hands are feeling drunk now because of all of the alcohol that we are using on our hands. Scheduled teaching. Learners coming in on a Monday or Tuesday. And all of these things are things that educators need to sit with. And sometimes the burden becomes so heavy. You are frustrated, you are uncomfortable, you are feeling that discomfort that we just saw in that sandal right now. And remote learning is also sometimes a challenge. So, you know, we move into a space where we also have limited human resources. In most of the schools that I speak to, we hear that educators are not in their full capacity because of comorbidity issues. Not everybody can attend school. So the numbers are few. Now the question is, if the numbers are few, we still have to continue on with work and we have to adapt to all of this change. But you are amazing because you continue to do this. You continue to make it work and you are persevering through. In some schools, we saw educators persevering. They're busy painting lines. I saw what Kliptown High was doing, creating videos to show learners how you're getting into the school. We are taking on all of these changes and we need to persevere and we need to continue. And sometimes it feels as difficult as pushing this rock on your own because we have limited staff, we have limited resources, but still we need to continue on. One of Columba's values is perseverance. And I think every teacher sitting in this presentation has resilience, being back at school, being there with all of the challenges and still continuing. I want to say we salute you and we see you. So online connection has become the new way of going. So educators have gone onto WhatsApp groups, doing WhatsApp classes, Zoom classes. We have some going on Google Team. I like some of these new initiatives that are coming up, like your zero-rated education platforms that you might find, some like Lightbulb. And the exciting thing about these are they are there for young people to access at any time. And they create an opportunity for them to learn. Then we also have things like Moya, which is a data-free chat group, where young people can actually connect with one another and start learning and tutoring each other. But there are many more that can be used to do online learning. However, as I speak about online learning, I also think about how it's widening the gap. And we thank Clifford and the team for creating these hotspots. But in some of our areas, the areas where we come from Tembisa, Eldorado Park, Vosloorus, some young people don't have access to cell phones. So it widens the gap. And unfortunately, these young people are left behind. And as we continue to connect on these online platforms, we also need to know how do we still keep young people connected, even if they don't have these resources. So I'm going to play a short video for you of an exceptional woman that I think speaks something good on the power of human connection. And I'm hoping that it would actually play as we are on here. If not, can I please have an indication from everybody? Let's do that again.
House are talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection, relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise. You just have to strut. And I gave them a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yeah. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, I can do better. You see, minus 18 sucks all the life out of you. Plus 2 said I ain't all bad. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. Brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God. You betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
So I would just like to hear from a few of you some things that popped out in that video for you potentially, so that we can go into what we're speaking about today. I hope everybody could hear. Anything that stood out for anybody, particularly around our video?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear? Can everybody hear me? Okay, okay, cool. What stood up for me, especially as a teacher, is that learning and teaching should bring joy to the classroom, right? Because that's basically it. That's the bottom line. If no one is happy in the classroom, then in essence nothing is happening. And yes, we face difficulties as teachers every day. Even from a policy's point of view, we don't necessarily in agreement sometimes with our employer in terms of how things are run. Some of us even have opinions in terms of curriculum. Some of us even have opinions in terms of, because it feels like what, I matriculated 2005, and now in 2020, 15 years later, it feels like little or next to nothing has changed within the classroom, or at least on my side of the tracks, you know. So, but we got to wake up every day, get here on time. I have an expectation of them to get here on time, because of that perseverance you spoke of, because of that passion you spoke of, because it's just a happy place for us as teachers and learners. Yeah. So that's what stood up for me, that learning and teaching should bring joy in the classroom.
Thank you. Learning and teaching should bring joy. Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, personally, I'm speaking from a personal experience whereby I used to have a poor results because we were fighting the syllabus, pushing the syllabus, and not concentrating on the learners as such. But as soon as I changed my method and I changed my perspective, we realized that we have a common enemy, which is a lack of knowledge, together with the learners. So as soon as I started working with the learners, showing more interest in them, and they start also to show interest in you as the teacher and also the subject. So learning is a collaborative effort. You can't do it alone, else your results will forever be terrible. But as soon as you start working with the learners, you will see there's going to be tremendous change in the situation. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I love that. It should be a collaborative approach. Anybody else? I'll give an opportunity for one more person to speak.
I think, Monique, I think what stood out for me was the fact that the teacher-learner relationship is one which it permanently supports the other. So the teacher is teaching the learner, but the learner is also teaching the teacher. So
Exactly.
you learn more as you teach. And it's the idea as well of seeing the pupil, really seeing them, allowing them to see you, and also admitting maybe as a teacher that you don't know everything and that maybe together you can figure it out. And it almost allows the student to also step up and teach back, as I say. It's this beautiful...
Sam, are you still there? Can everybody else hear me? Can I just see a thumbs up?
We can hear you, Monique. Yeah.
Okay, so I think Sam was saying something beautiful, that the educator and the learner are learning from each other. And I think for educators, as we're sitting here, some educators I always speak to say, you know, Monique, technology is not my thing. And young people are much more advanced when it comes to these social networks than we are. And now that's the new platform that they have to work on. So it's that constant learning from each other. But I think if we all think about this, in our school journey, we all remember that one educator. Everybody can think about an educator that really made an impact in you. And I think it's exactly what the previous speaker said. He said that once collaboration happened and there was understanding amongst us, teaching and learning became much easier in the classroom. And that's when the results improved as well. And that is exactly what Columba is passionate about. We're saying that adults and youth should work in partnership if we want to have an ideal, conducive classroom space. But in that space, it's also the space then where young people are getting an opportunity for their 21st century skills to develop. So we're speaking about the classroom, we're speaking about the school space as a whole. Columba's our stance is that we believe that young people have greatness. And we've seen the amazing things that young people can do, but they can't do it on their own. And there needs to be this adult and youth partnership that is happening in order for that success to happen. That collaboration. If we learn from them, they learn from us. We make the environment a conducive one, and we get to grow, and they get to grow. They get to get these 21st century skills of communication. Now we create platforms for them in the classroom where they also get to teach their peers and then learn how to communicate. We create platforms for young people to speak at assembly. We essentially give them a voice to speak. If adults are approachable, like Rita Pearson says, it makes the environment so much more easier. I think there's one thing that we speak about that is so powerful for us, it's shared leadership. And I think currently, because we are so overwhelmed with everything happening, schools are closing at a rapid pace. Educators have so much work to do. They have to teach different classes. Now classes are split into two. But why are we not using young people as a resource in this time? And it's important for us to see them as a powerful resource. And I'll give a few examples of what some of our young people are doing and how we can do that and get young people to be part of the leadership of the school and actually participate in that. We need to engage youth. And I think what's powerful here is what Sam and them are doing. When we speak about youth engagement, we speak about 4 pillars. One of them, we say there needs to be a platform for them to play. Young people don't like boring things, let's be real. They want exciting and new and vibrant things. And so an opportunity for them to be part in the arts. And I'll share a bit about what some of our schools are doing there. Connecting to their purpose, we also need to create opportunities for them where they can serve so that their character can build and they can find purpose and understand what their mission is in life. But also creating a space where they learn from us and we learn from them. But the last one I speak about is that thing of having a voice. If a young person knows that there's somebody that listens to them and they have a voice, they feel that they are making an impact. And I think we always make this mistake and of thinking that it's only a certain learners that need to do this. At Columba, we always say every learner has potential. And sometimes the learner with the most difficult personality, the one that irritates you the most, is the one who has the biggest influence because they have the biggest crowd. And if you could change that young person to change their paradigm and perspective and see themselves as powerful human beings that is here for a purpose, then they bring other young people into the space to change. So before I share about some of what we do, I'm going to ask Lehlohonolo just to share on what they are doing at Lehlohonolo and what he as an educator has done in terms of these 4 topics that I shared with. And then I'll speak a bit more on how we do it and what we do. Lehlohonolo, can I give over to you? Is he still with us?
I don't see him, Monique.
So he might have been disconnected then. So I'll proceed, and if he joins again, Brandon, would you just let me know?
Sure.
So what we speak about in this whole thing of adult and youth partnership, we get to see that if young people are connected to a vision and young people have character and purpose and they know what their mission is in life. So we take them through a 6-day journey normally where they get to explore 6 values. And I think Clifford spoke about those values so that they can understand what it means to be an ethical leader. Now, once they get that, we say to them, remove away the titles when they speak to the educators and get to connect with your educator. And once there's a relationship and a partnership established there, we get to see amazing things happening. We work with some of the schools on this platform. I know Unity Secondary is one of those schools. And I'll use an example of powerful things that can happen when you have youth and adult working in partnership. You get to see young people's strengths come out. I'll use an example of a young boy who was involved in gangsterism in one of our schools. And once he got to connect to this whole idea of, I have greatness inside of me. There's potential inside of me that needs to come out. He went back to his school, said to the educators, I'm going to work in partnership with you to identify where the areas are where young people are smoking. And they started tackling substance abuse in the area. I like what Unity Secondary School recently did, and that was to have a gender-based violence campaign in this time, which is so relevant. And so when we as adults create platforms for young people to shine, we also lessen the burden on ourselves. And that is what we encourage. If you can identify the potential in the young people that you are working with, and if they are ethical leaders and they are connected to a vision, they can strive and they can grow. But in the process, they are growing and they are learning 21st century skills. that will help them beyond the classroom and post high school. If an adult becomes approachable, and I know this is a difficult one, educators are already feeling like you are a counselor, you are so many things, but it's exactly what one of our speakers says. Once they got to see the human for who they are, instead of just seeing them as learners and just continuing with teaching, the space became a space where there was joy and there was shared leadership. If young people can take on some of the things that is troubling you right now, why not have young people actively involved? We have a school where young people are actually participating during break time in ensuring that there is social distance. Obviously following also all of the protocols that we need to follow so that they are safe. But they are there helping the educators on the playground, ensuring that there is social distancing happening. When they change particular teachers in different classes, there's a young person there who knows that they are responsible to ensure that everybody knows where they are going. What is also dynamic about young people and what they are doing is young people in our program are also taking on the initiative, and even alumni are saying that I can be part of the solution and I can share in the leadership. How do I do this? When my peers are struggling, I can start tutoring groups. So they are taking initiative in starting tutoring groups. And it all comes down to we need to create an environment that is conducive for them to be able to thrive. And that is what we get to see. If as educators we are approachable, if as educators we have this partnership with them, it lessens the weight for both, and we actually get to see young people growing. They're developing 21st century skills, they're communicating, they also learn about problem solving, because a lot of times they have better ideas than ours, and all they need is for us to create opportunities for them to be heard. And so that is basically what I want to speak into. If we have activated youth, young people that can make a change, we can lessen the burden on ourselves, but we can also help them to be the best that they can be in the school space. So unfortunately, Lehlohonolo is not here, and he was going to cover on some of those things that he was speaking into. But I'm going to open the floor if there's any questions or any comments from anybody in the crowd. I'm going to call on my colleague as well, just to share, Auroi, who is in the space, just to share what one of the young people in his province, he's in the Western Cape living there, what one of the young people in his province is doing. Auroi?
Yes, hi Monique. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Wow, this is quite a powerful space, and yeah, just to share with you in terms of what is happening here in the Western Cape. One of our alumni, he, you know, from one of our Mitchell's Plains schools, specifically in the Cape Flats area, you know, completed his LLB, and now we started a concept, you know, aspiration to inspiration. So he's using all the role models that grew up on your Cape Flats area, and he's busy interviewing them in order to highlight positive role models in the community, specifically in this time. One of his guests that he will be interviewing now this coming Saturday would be Trevor Manuel. But it's just an initiative that he took. He really showed some leadership. And now he's got loads of youth also engaging and talking. And that is also just one of the powerful things that are happening. And that speaks into really a youth that is activated and really just wanted to serve and also making a difference. Thanks, Monique.
Thank you, Auroi.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
I'm Wandile Makubu, a principal at Unity Secondary School. I thought I should also share.
Yes.
Can I be heard?
You can be heard.
Yes. Now, I just wanted to commend the Columba group for the sterling work that you are doing. over the years. That is why we are still part of you after we've been introduced by Clifford and Bronwyn to you many, many years ago, because we believe in the program. It is working. In fact, it's making our work very easy. It is no longer difficult for us to manage the learners. The behavioral change of learners is self-sustaining. We don't have to involve teachers anymore, because these kids, they believe in the youth leadership. Now, once you send them to work with each other, these kids, they do wonders. They've got campaigns, and it's all through what you have taught them in the ethical leadership values. Last year, I think, this year we're disturbed a bit by COVID-19, but last year they had a campaign on gender-based violence. That campaign lasted for the whole year. In fact, they on their own had a march to the police station involving other schools as well on gender-based violence. And together with their teachers, the teachers who also are the graduates of the Columba Leadership Program camps, they also could invite some television socialites, those people who are very, very known on television, to come also to join in this campaign. And these people, they did support them. Now, when we were playing that video, I was very happy, actually impressed, because some of these kids, we don't take only the smart ones. We take all kids, all kinds of children, those who are good in leaders already, those who are smart, those who have got low self-esteem, even those who are considered to be wayward. We've tried, and it has worked all the time. So when that lady spoke on the TED, when that lady said every child deserves a champion, I really felt so refreshed, because I'm also one of the people who attended the course. But this, if we're to add something on it, for every child that deserves a champion, that child should also be a champion later in life. Some of them, like my brother has just completely said now, some of them have graduated, they're gainfully employed, they're serving in the community. I want to thank you very much, Columba. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Makubu.
Monique, we've got 2 graduates of your program that we put through the program when we were running the Piedmont project. And I'm wondering if Chantal and Lorato, maybe if you guys don't want to share from a learner's perspective of maybe how Columba empowered you and maybe changed your attitude towards your teachers in the school when you were at school. Maybe share it from a learner's perspective.
All right, I'll go first. Can everybody hear me? My internet connection is quite unstable.
Carry on.
We can.
Awesome. So basically, I think from my side, it was just the blessing of being given a chance to be listened and being given an opportunity, And I think that's one thing that a lot of learners are just, silently crying for. Columba Leadership had a huge impact on my life. I mean, if I just have to look at one of the main values that stuck out for me was definitely awareness. And in simple terms, it's, knowing more about yourself, the people around you, and your environment. And with some of the learners and their environments and some of the environments that we came from, you can be easily influenced or structured or formed in the way that the environment wants you to be formed into. But being able to be activated through these values and through these lessons is something that really does a huge mind shift, not just for that moment, but long life. It's something that will always keep with us. Yeah, that's so far for me to say.
And Lorato,
sorry, I'm just on the road. But if I could just add on, a lot of the learners that I went on the camp with, and I think myself as well, barely get an opportunity to be out of sort of the backgrounds that we're raised in, which are very suburban or township. And what Columbia really provided was an opportunity to escape and be one of and be one with nature. And in so doing, it really allowed us to appreciate things like our senses and to rely on things like that more than technologies and whatnot. Although we saw the value in those things, it was very important for us to realize that we're an ecosystem. You know, as much as there is a cell phone, as much as there's whatnot, we needed to understand and value ourselves, value our senses. I mean, one of the most important activities or memorable ones was when we all had to close our eyes and just listen to nature. And it was just mind-opening. And I'll never forget how we just forget how to live in the moment and just appreciate the little moments we have in life as well. So yeah, I mean, it gave us a new sense and perspective on how to tackle issues as well. I think Monique touched on all the values that they have, and every day we tackle a new value. You know, so they found a creative way to bring these to us, and I think it still sticks. Like I'm saying, how my just understanding of senses has never been altered ever since that day.
Thanks,
Brother
Laurent.
Cliff, Monique,
Concentrate
can I
on
also
your...
add from the learner's perspective?
Carry on.
Yeah, it's Tenolo again. Also, as a learner, Monique spoke about activated youth. And personally, after I came from the camp, you know, I learned the hard way that learning is social and emotional. And what Columba did for me was, you know, make sure that socially, emotionally, I was okay, so that learning becomes easy. And that's what Lerato has just spoken about in terms of the space of the academy. Now, coming back to school, I was so activated that, you know, the year that I went to Columba, I was in grade 10. I got 26% for mathematics, but 2 years later, I had an A for mathematics through just being activated. Somebody telling me that, you know what, you can do so much more. It was a partnership. I started partnering with teachers that also went to the academy, and schooling became so easy. Working with other learners became so easy because we were working as partners now. Some of the champions, I'm glad we have champions on call as well, the principal and other teachers. So some of the champions, the values champions who are teachers, started collaborating with us because they realized that the more they collaborated with us, the easier their work became, and the easier it was for some of us to learn as well. And by the time I was done with matric, when I went to the academy, my marks were so bad. But by the time I was done with matric, I had an A for maths and I had nothing less than a B, which was really awesome. But it's something that somebody initiated, not by teaching.
Okay, back to you, Monique.
I would just ask that Lehlohonolo shortly, maybe just in 1 minute, share from a teacher's perspective, and then I'll wrap it up. Is that fine, Clifford?
Perfect, carry on.
Lehlohonolo, can you just share for us a bit from an educator's perspective?
Thank you, Monique. What am I speaking on? I got cut.
Sorry, just on adult and youth partnership and adult approachability, how you use creativity to get young people actively involved.
Basically, well, that's also one of the things that are passionate to me, especially being an African, because now it's about bridging the gap, you know. Because for us, we have a certain decorum that we have to uphold in terms of how we relate to adults, and it becomes difficult now to relate, because now, as much as I'm an educator, they still have to look at me as a father, and there's also now other ways of in essence them relating to me. So what I've done now lately with my grade 11s is now I've started calling them by nicknames, you know, just to try and ease the tension. I've moved away from the surname calling, and I've encouraged them as well to call me by first name, not a nickname, but just to try and that whole disruption, because it's fairly difficult for us as well, because those are also things that I struggle with as an individual as well. That how am I going to relate if I have to if you have to be a colleague, but at the same time, I have to see a mother or an aunt. So for me, that's how now it's nickname calling, and I'm on a face name basis just to get everybody comfortable. So that's where I've started. And I mean, my WhatsApp is open to them, mostly for teaching and learning and curriculum stuff. But as well, like I said, for them, I have no time for them. So it's open at any time, whenever. So it feels like a party whenever they feel like they want to text me, and would sometimes even have chats before we even get into the mathematics. So yeah. So I've just opened my door and let them use me in whichever way that they can.
I think what Lehlohonolo is speaking about is an adult that is approachable, and that is what we say. Every child needs a champion and needs somebody to create an environment for young people to thrive in, and in that space have them coming up with solutions for some of the challenges that you are facing now. Young people are sitting with those ideas. They have greatness inside of them, and if they are ethical leaders, it also if we think about some of the young people in our school who might not be able to come to school because of comorbidity issues, how about we use our young learners, because it's going to be impossible for educators to get to all of them. How about we use our young learners who are activated leaders in the school space to also go and reach out to their peers? In a time when we might possibly have so many dropouts because of the whole COVID-19 situation, let young people be our ambassadors. And as they are our ambassadors and they go out there and they make a change and come up with solutions in our school, they are at the same time also developing 21st century skills that prepares them for the world of work and prepares them for university and life after school. But we are the ones who are just creating that conducive environment. And at the same time, as educators, you also get to benefit from it, because they relieve us from some of the weight. And I think that's basically what leadership today.
Yeah, one other thing, Monique, about the approachability. And by the way, my headmistress is here with me, so she's saying hi. With that approachability, it's true what you're saying, because like for the first time, other kids, I've literally seen their teeth for the first time during this time, because now I'm trying to be now on their level. Now I get to see people who I never thought even that they could laugh. Now they do laugh, and hopefully in time it will encourage them to also, have an opinion. Because I think the culture of teaching and learning in South Africa, and then which makes it worse, like I said, with us being African, it's that the learner should be less opinionated, and the less they say, the better. And now, how are we now building these relationships and making teaching and learning enjoyable if they are expected to say less? I mean, we're not encouraging them to be disrespectful and stuff, but their creativity, maybe even them having opinions on how they would like their lessons to be conducted, So yeah, I think we should be more approachable and really come to their level. And I mean, you don't necessarily need to have a hard exterior in order for you to get the respect. And at the end of the day, we're seeking respect and not fear from these children.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Lehlohonolo. Over to you, Clifford.
Okay.
I'm mindful of time.
Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
So can I thank the number team for sharing their insights. We will share contact details with them if any of you would like to engage further. And we'll also host that Rita Pearson video if anyone wants to watch it. It was a little bit stuttering, but she's an amazing character. And I think we all acknowledge that teaching is tough. But to quote her back to you, it's tough but not impossible. And all of you are born to make a difference. And I think the lesson of COVID-19 is, all the thought leaders and commentators are saying, listen, it's a time to reset. It's an opportunity to change the way we have done things historically, and we need to be better than before. So we've been hit by this pandemic. None of us that saw this coming or understood the impact that it would have, not just on our lives, but in every aspect of our lives, the way business operate, what's important. And I think the key learning is going back to purpose. You know, this world has proven to be incredibly unfair. There is so much inequity and inequality. And certainly the systems that we've been embracing historically have not addressed or met the need of most of our people. And I think that this pandemic, in the way that it has hit us, has forced us really to begin to rethink everything, to reset and be better than before. And if I want to embrace the key learning of Columba, is to see our learners as partners, to embrace them, to become their champions, to understand the power of connection, which means willing to listen to them, not see ourselves as the only expert in the room, not see ourselves as all-knowing and dispensing advice and information, but rather develop this partnership approach. Now, not all of you are going to be lucky enough to go in the Columba program, but they're in shutdown as well. And certainly, if I understand correctly, they're starting to think through some innovative approaches to maybe leverage off technology like what we're doing here. So hopefully this is the beginning of a new relationship with Columba, and maybe they can bring some resources to our schools to share more of their learnings, but we'll pick up on that at another time. So just to say thank you to our speakers, to remind our schools, Bronwyn will follow you up to attend those workshops to collect your gear. Please keep your hotspots up and running, stay in contact with Philip if necessary, and we look forward to seeing you next week, where Thabo is going to walk you through his first session on the world of work. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to throw it open for anybody who would like to maybe make closing or passing remarks from your side. So Bronwyn's unmuted everybody. If you'd like to speak, maybe just wave your hand and we'll take a comment from you. So the floor is open. You do need to put your videos on so we can see if you are putting your hand up, if you want to say anything.
Okay.
And thank you. That's all that I wanted to say.
Oh, so you can wave, I think.
Keep in mind that you've all been unmuted, so whatever you're talking about in the background is now being shared with the whole audience.
In essence, I would like to say thank you. This is Lehlohonolo here. I'd like to say thank you. I mean, with the little I've had, Thabo, and when Tenulo spoke, I mean, it's always nice to get different perspective and always know what people are doing differently somewhere, because like I said, these are unprecedented times. So whatever new knowledge or new piece of information or whatever new normal that, or the new abnormal, whatever people that are doing that may be different or that might aid us. And also, it's also reflecting, you know, because these spaces like this allow us hindsight as well, and progressing and fixing up things. And I also thought you touched on issues of inequity. So it really has shown, I mean, how the systems of the world, how they've been working, how much they've been disadvantaging. And Monique in the beginning spoke about how now having to move into these technologies, and for some of us in the communities that we come from, it's actually widening the gap, because me teaching, if it was not for WhatsApp and sending notes, it was a problem. I couldn't use Zoom with my learners. I couldn't use Microsoft Teams or Google Classroom for that matter. While on the other side of the track, somewhere at a boys' school in the north of Johannesburg, virtually learning had not stopped at all, because they just moved on to their laptops and life was pretty normal. So I guess addressing the issues of inequalities and inequities, and I think that's the struggle for the youth today. And this is a perfect opportunity that the COVID, so even though COVID came and it disrupted everything, but I guess out of disruption, again, new things are born and struggles are defined. So now these are new struggles that are defined, and thank you so much, guys. I mean, in hindsight, I've also took some things that, yeah, maybe we might also want to implement in our school.
You're welcome, and thank you for joining us and sharing your insights.
Yeah.
Wandi, do you want to close off for the schools?
Yeah, I also wanted to thank you for opening this channel for us. It's making our work, keep on our minds are running. Because like I was telling Brownwin, our school has been closed for the past 14 days. It's so difficult to communicate with my people, although we've got WhatsApp groups. I wanted to quote someone, I think it was Churchill, who said, we can't let the crisis slip away. We must make good of the crisis that we find. So we'll try our best to see how we navigate this coronavirus thing so that we can keep on doing what we have been known to be doing. But thank you very much, Bronwyn. Thank you very much, Clifford. You're stars. Thank you.
Wandi, before you go, the difficulty I'm having, and I'm not sure how we're going to solve this, is the hotspots have been provided at the schools. The idea is that while teachers and kids are at the schools, obviously we've taken out the cost of data and we can share, information digitally. But if the kids and the teachers are not coming into the schools at all,
no, we'll be back on Monday.
You'll be back on Monday. So I'm asking for a plan A and a plan B. So of course, what we would like to do is get more teachers and learners up on this network to be exposed to, let's say, these discussions. But in the absence of them being in the hotspots, those of them that can access hotspots or have got access to data, they should be joining these calls anyway. I think we all know, the cost of data is expensive, and that's one of the barriers, which is why we've supported the hotspots. Of course, what we're doing is we're recording all of these sessions. So they'll always be available on the Vula Meshlu website. So when people do come back into that hotspot, they are able then to watch and download and so on and so forth. So we don't want to keep any of you longer. I mean, I think we try and keep these sessions to a maximum of 90 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. And we will see all of you next week.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.